Thanks, Kim. Let's go to our next story now. The campaign group Rights for Residents take to Downing Street. We're actually on their way there at the moment to protest against restrictions that care home residents still face. Since its inception in September 2020, the group's aim to mobilise families of those who are affected by care home policies during the pandemic. Joining me now is Alice Roberts from Rights for Residents. Good afternoon to you, Alice. Lovely to speak to you again.
Hello, Kate. Thanks for having me on again.
Alice, tell us what's happening then today at Downing Street. There's a protest, but there's also a petition as well being handed over.
That's right, Kate. So right now, there are quite a few protesters from the Rights for Residents group. Families have come from all over the UK to join, and our core team are handing in probably about now a petition with over 250,000 signatures to Downing Street. And this petition is asking the government to actually take action to protect in law the human rights of those in care homes to access meaningful family support. You'll know from featuring this previously in your programme, and it's been in the media a lot, how much care home residents have suffered from being isolated during the pandemic. And sadly, 18 months in, despite the fact we've had Freedom Day in society, those in care homes have been left behind once again.
Yeah, so tell us what's going on in care homes. I gather, Alice, from work that we've done on this in the past, is that they're not all following a uniform set of rules. So different care homes have different guidance, which is confusing.
Absolutely. So actually, in recent months, the government has really listened to campaigners and to the Rights of Residents group and really recognised the importance of essential family visits and contact for the health, not just the mental health, but also the physical health of those in care homes. It's well documented that isolation and loneliness can have real risks to health. Mm-hmm. So the government, in their most recent guidance, have actually stipulated that every single care home resident should be able to nominate one essential caregiver. It's called an essential caregiver, where they can nominate one person that would be able to visit them during any situation, even if the care home has to go into lockdown or if there's further restrictions due to COVID. And they would be treated as part of the care team. Sadly, though, although that is government guidance, it's not law. And so care homes, many good care homes are following that, and it's making such a difference, but many are not. And actually, they don't have to follow it. It's just guidance. So we're still finding many of our members are not being able to see their loved ones for more than maybe 50 minutes, half an hour, and having to book them. So they might be able to get them once a fortnight. For people in care homes after 18 months, that is just not okay. It's not good enough. So we're asking actually, the petition is asking for three things, but the first thing is for the government to actually put that essential caregiver role into law to make it a legal right for care home residents to all have this one nominated person that could come under any conditions and be part of their extended care team, just like the paid care staff.
What else are you asking for? You've got 3 points. That's the first one.
Right. So second to that, that's the first point, to enshrine the essential caregiver role in law. We're also asking that the government actually issue some updated guidance to actually bring care home residents more in line with what the rest of us in society are facing now, which is basically hardly any restrictions, if any at all. So while we can go to a festival with thousands of people, football match, go on holiday, go to the pub and restaurants, those in care homes are not able to even see their loved ones, perhaps for more than once a fortnight or more than one person. And so the carers, we've got the situation where carers, who are part of society like we all are, might be going to a festival at a weekend, mixing with thousands of people. They can then go into the care home and do their job, but the residents might not be able to see their family and have their family come in. So it's just, we want the rights of care homes to be brought more in line. We're not saying just completely ease all restrictions. We could still have testing, PPE where appropriate, but actually, bring it a bit more up to date, because if it's safe for society, at some point we've got to just let these care residents
and also be able to see more than one family member as well. Absolutely. You've got this essential caregiver, but that's only one person. You want to be able to take that person out.
Absolutely. So the government guidance also says that now care home residents should also, as well as the essential caregiver, have unlimited visitors, just named, but unlimited. So whoever they need around them to be able to come into the home. And again, many care homes are not allowing that still. So that was our second point, to update the guidance to actually make it more equal and actually give these people back their human rights. Yeah. And then the third point we've got is actually for the government to make their guidance mandatory, so mandate it in law, because until it's law, we're going to just find the same thing happens again. Care homes can choose to follow it or not. Many are, but very many aren't. And so we're asking, the third point is for actually the government to mandate this guidance in law and actually issue penalties to providers that refuse to follow it, because it really is really enough is enough now for these people.
Yeah. Alice, we've spoken several times before on my usual weekend show, looking at how care home residents are being left behind, the last considered in many cases when it came to restrictions or impact on them as human beings. And I know we've spoken about your dad quite a lot, and I was really sorry to learn that you lost your dad recently.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. That's why I'm not actually in London myself today, because my dad, who sadly lost him 2 weeks ago, and so with the time of the funeral, I just couldn't travel today. And I'm absolutely devastated. My dad, well, I loved him to pieces, but in the last 5 months, my dad was very ill in March. He had a sudden illness, and after that, I fought for it. And my brother and myself both got extended visits, and my sister, and I've been an essential caregiver for the last 5 months. The difference that made to my dad's life, the difference it's made to me, I'm devastated, but I can't imagine how I'd be feeling if my dad had died and I hadn't had that. And I just want everybody in a care home and all their loved ones to have that peace of mind that in their last months, they were well cared for, they felt loved, they were connected with those that brought meaning to the end of their life. And it's not just old people, there's also younger people, children, young adults, adults with learning difficulties or disabilities. It's not just the elderly. So there's a huge number of people that this matters to. But personally for me, I'm not going to stop campaigning because my dad, the carers said to us, you make such a difference. And they also used to thank me for coming. Thank you. You help us so much. I spent the time with my dad. I freed the carers up to do other things. They're so overworked. And I feel now I'm very, very sad, but I'm at peace because I know my dad had me at the end. And that's what everybody should have.
Yeah, I mean, it's the campaigning that Rights for Residents has done so far is so important, Alice, because it could have been the case that you were denied time with your dad. You'd already had a tough time during the pandemic, and you referenced things getting better after he became suddenly ill in March. But in a way, he shouldn't have had to become seriously ill, should he, for you to be able to see him and be able to make a difference?
Absolutely. In fact, we did nearly lose Dad in March, and it was only from me being able to get into the hospital and help him eat and drink and go back and get into the care home when he got home that we actually got him better, and he had a really good last 5 months, amazing quality of life compared to how it had been. And no, we shouldn't have had to fight because my dad deteriorated so much in that year when we weren't seeing him. And I will always wonder if that hadn't happened, would he have had a longer life? And that is something that's very difficult to come to terms with. So everybody should be in a position where they're not being left to deteriorate through isolation and loneliness. Yeah. Everybody should have access to those they need.
How's your family dealt through this, Alice? I know you've really been pushing and really been making sure that you got to see your dad, but of course that can't be extended to everyone in your family. How are they doing?
It's difficult for all of us. We're very lucky. Our care home, the manager was very supportive, and she was tied by what head office said, but she was very supportive. So my brother and I both shared essential caregiver status. We're both local. And my sister, who lived further away, was allowed indoor visits towards the last few months, really unlimitedly. So we are very lucky. And it's still difficult because we have a year to live with that we didn't have Dad. But some people have lost people without even having what we had. Mm. It's difficult for my children. They're young. They're still at primary school and just at secondary school. And they used to spend every weekend with their grandpa. So now they've lost him. They've seen him twice, maybe 3 times outside for a short time. So for the children, it's really, really difficult as well. And and for the wider family that haven't seen him in all that time, it is difficult, and everyone's coming to terms with the fact that they will never get that time back now.
How many people are heading to Downing Street? Do you know how many are there, Alice?
I don't know how many, but we were estimating between 200 and 300 actually coming. Obviously, a lot of people are older that are in our campaign group, and it's quite difficult for them to travel, or people are worried about going on public transport still. But yeah, we've got a good turnout. So and
I'm
really
sure they're making a fair bit of noise as well.
They are. I've heard it already on the live feed. Yes, definitely.
Well, look, our listeners can find out more about Rights for Residents by checking them out online. Alice, I'm so sorry to hear about your dad again, but of course, this means that you will fight for those with relatives in care homes, be they old or be they at any stage in their life, to be able to put into law rights to be able to see family members. So, Alice Roberts, thanks again for joining us on Times Radio.
Thanks so much, Kate.
Thanks.